Welcome to Forward Ever, Leading in Challenging Times, presented by Worth Wealth Management, a weekly conversation with area leaders about how to persevere during uncertain times. Now here's your host, Gary Shorman.
Hi, everyone. I'm Gary Shorman, and welcome to Forward Ever, Leading in Challenging Times. Many times we talk about leadership going forward, and we'll talk about that in a little bit, but we're going to talk about a 25-year anniversary, and that's the 25-year anniversary at Sternberg Museum. And Brad Pink is our guest today. He's the manager of services at visitor services at Sternberg Museum. And so he's going to talk about maybe the 25 years going on and what's taking place. Brad, it's good to have you with us today.
Glad to be here. Nice to be able to chance to do this.
You just celebrated 25 years. That was a big event. It just happened. Are you happy it's over with?
Yes, it was great. It was a fun day. It was a great time. I'm glad it's over though. There was a lot of people.
I was out of town, didn't have a chance to make it, but I know there was a crowd out there. I think Senator Moran was over there to talk about some things. They had,
Yes.
VIPs from all over talking about the history of Sternberg Museum. And I think it's rightfully so because what's happened to the museum is so cool. I want to talk about you just a second. How did you
Okay.
get into, maybe you were born saying, I want to get into the museum business?
No, that's probably about as far from the truth as it could be. Actually, I got started back in about 1998 while I was a student at Fort Hays, and there was a news article that came out in the Hays Daily News that said they were looking for docents or basically tour guides to show people through the museum under construction because there was so much curiosity about this great big empty building and what was going on. So they were looking for people to come out and give tours of the facility. And I had been working in La Crosse in the museums for a few years and I was interested in that. So I answered the call and came out and been here ever since.
Are you the only person or one of the few people that have been there for all 25 years?
No, there'd be four of us. There's myself, there's Greg Walters, our exhibits manager. He was here for, I think he came in the early 90s in the old museum. He was an exhibits person. James Helgett is our building manager. He's been here since day one. And Amy Klein is our office manager. She actually started as a student, and she was here from day one as a student and then advanced into the office position when our other office manager retired.
Well, it's great to see what happens. So many things that you do. You talk about, being able to build things and do things that are just so different. That building was not really set up initially to be a museum, but you have turned that into just a phenomenal place out there, and it has survived up and downs of all sorts of things. Was COVID an issue for you guys? Because so many people just stopped traveling, stopped moving, stopped going places. How did you survive that?
I don't know, but we did. Yeah, it was a big thing. Actually, it would have been right after St. Patrick's weekend in 2020 that it was on a Monday morning that our director sent us a message and said the university and all associated parts were closing down. So we were closed for about three months and did a little bit of what we could to keep things functioning, but the museum was closed to the public for quite a bit of time.
Yeah, that was a challenging time. I'm glad we're past all of this. And you mentioned the 25-year celebration. Obviously, that couldn't have happened during this, but when you have so many people show up at the 25th anniversary, to be able to do that, it's really cool to see how we've made it through that transition and what happens. So that is neat. 25 years seems like a lifetime ago in 1999 that everything got opened up. Did you have along the way any favorite exhibits? Because there's the traditional exhibits that you see, the fish within a fish, all those sort of things that you get to see. But you have over the years brought in some phenomenal exhibits that allow the visitors to the museum to just kind of see different parts of history.
Probably looking back, the most the most exciting was the Sioux, the T-Rex named Sioux. That was I guess I can say, for lack of a better word, crazy about 3 months of visitation. Well over 100,000 people in just about 3 months. It was a great time. I might have answered that differently during the midst of it, but now, yes, it was great.
There were a lot of parts to Sue, right? If I remember right, multiple people were involved with bringing Sue, the dinosaur, there. But it's not like you just bring the dinosaur down the road on a giant trailer. There were parts, pieces that had to put together like a giant puzzle, and then it was so impressive to see
Hmm.
what actually happened, the skeleton of that dinosaur and what it would have looked like in real life. That was phenomenal. It was at you said it's 3 month process, 100,000 people go through. Um, is that a thing that it can continue with other exhibits? Because I know you've had others, none of them been quite that big, but dinosaurs are dinosaurs. What's the next dinosaur that's on the list of things you'd like to see at the museum?
I don't know. We just we besides dinosaurs, we are natural history, so we bring in other related items, anything related to natural history. Um, Sue was kind of special in its own right. I mean, that was also Gail Keel from McDonald's was instrumental in doing that, and we had that when we had great help from everyone, all many different agencies, and that helped a lot.
Over the years, I know I have grandkids that go through all the time. We go through there. Grandkids always want to go through and take a look. Have you had some surprising guests or celebrities other than Sue that have come through the museum?
Oh, trying to think offhand, nothing I can think of. I know we had the television show from Storm Chasers several years ago that was pretty popular, and we had those two gentlemen happened to come by one day. That was back shortly after the tornado hit Greensburg, and we were housing the meteorite. We were kind of the babysitters for that for a year, and these gentlemen come walking through the door to see the meteorite, and I remember, I know who these guys are.
Well, that's fun. Now, what is your specific job at the museum? Because I believe part of it includes the store that goes along with that that also carries some unique items that not only kids like but adults like.
I handle the visit of the public side of the museum, the admissions desk, take care of overseeing that and the store. As you said, that's a big part of the job right now, just trying to find merchandise that kids and adults or kids of all ages are interested in. And that takes quite a bit of my time, in addition to several other just whatever comes up that's public related, I guess.
So you have parents, grandparents, people from across the country come through. What do you recommend? I know we have a ability to take our grandkids through, and what do you recommend for people to do that want to have just that ability to come visit the museum? Can they come down and sign up? How do they get signed up to get a kind of a pass? Now, I would say a lifetime pass, that's okay too, but figure out how to get a lifetime pass into the museum.
You can get a membership. We've got multiple options from individuals up through families and beyond if you want to bring extra guests. Easiest way to do it is you can sign up online, or you can come right into the museum and sign up right at the admissions desk. Said you can purchase it annually, and that's like 12 months. Or there is an option to purchase lifetime, and you can come and go as much as you want for the rest of your life. And bringing family, kids, grandkids, all of those, it's a pretty simple process, and it's a
That's a
great
cool way
thing
to do it.
because, oh, go ahead.
That's a cool way to do it because grandkids and younger people just love the museum.
Yes, and we have a lot of members that bring the kids or the grandkids in multiple times, even in a week, because the kids come home, they want something to do. You can pop out to the museum and spend 10 minutes out here and go back home and do that all you want to, or you can spend all day, whatever you want to do.
You see the dome as you drive down interstate, and those of us here get used to that. People driving through the country, Not that sometimes people say they get bored driving through western Kansas, but this dome really pops out as being something different. What's the visitor makeup of people? Obviously, you have people here in town that go and do what we do with the kids, but how many people come from outside?
Oh, we get probably half of our visitation from outside of Hayes and the surrounding area. That mentioning that dome, that's probably the best sign we could ever have. I can't even tell you the number of people over the years that have come into the museum and said, we drive by I-70 frequently and we keep seeing that building and we're constantly curious what's going on. So today we just decided to stop and come in and see what it is. It definitely is a car stopper.
Yeah, and there's a lot of marketing of under the dome and all that, but yet some people don't put two and two of what that is together to make that happen. But you do walk in the door and you walk upstairs, you see how it's all laid out so well. You and the team there have done a terrific job of making that happen. So, your website again, and then I want to come back to something else you're working on, but the website again for the museum.
It is sternberg.fhsu.edu or Google Sternberg Museum and it's going to come up.
All right, go do that. And there's another thing that you've been working on. And so I'm going to change the course of the interview, but you're working on a book about post-rock and the limestone that's in our part of the world. I'm going to take a break. We're going to come back and talk about that because you've been working on a book that I think is out there that people can look at. Again, probably something those of us that drive around here all day, every day, kind of take for granted. And it's those beautiful limestone, not only structures, posts, artwork that goes along with that. Brad, stay
Yes.
with us. Our guest is Brad Pinka, who's the manager of manager of visitor services at Sternberg. We'll be back with more with Brad after this.
The most successful investors are those that can keep their emotions in check and take a longer-term view at what portfolios will be worth 3 to 5 years down the road. I'd say that's the most important in determining what investor outcomes are. Market corrections will continue in the future. We've seen many of them over the years, only to see equity prices rise higher, and that'll be the case in the future.
Worth Wealth Management, enhancing lives and strengthening families.
Welcome back to Forward Ever, leading in challenging times with our guest, Brad Pinka, manager of visitor services at Sternberg Museum. Brad, it's good to have you here today because you cover so many things at the museum,
Yes.
including helping families get through and being able to do things like the museum anniversary that took place just recently. But you are on the sideline are involved with the Post Rock Limestone Coalition. Did I say that right?
That's right. That's correct.
So what's that about?
That is an organization that we started in 2019. And basically, that was started by Rosalind Schultz and Jeannie Stramel up in Lucas, Kansas, as a way of kind of helping to promote and preserve those limestone posts and all of the limestone structures that you see that are unique to this part of Kansas. And we are an 18 county group, and we meet every 2 months, and we're working on promoting, preserving, protecting, and just raising awareness of this very, very unique part of our history.
Is it basically just the post? Because I mentioned going to the break, there's so many things that the early settlers here used the limestone to do, to build, to create, all those things. Is the coalition basically just for the limestone post?
No, anything to do with what is called, it's actually called fence post limestone is the scientific layer. It's part of a greenhorn limestone. And that particular, it's anything that's constructed out of that particular stone. Buildings, obviously, if you've been through this part of Kansas, there's magnificent churches, houses, business, commercial buildings. Just about anything you can think of was at one time constructed out of this limestone.
So you've written a book about this and it goes into details. And one of the questions, I kind of understand this, but how did the early settlers get the big limestone slabs into the stone post? Was it the freezing process that they used? Tell everybody about how they kind of got them chopped. Because right now, we have big tools to saw through that stuff,
Hmm.
do all those things. They didn't have that.
Nope, they worked for what they had. Most of it, the one unique thing about this fence post limestone layer is it lies very close to the surface. If you drive down the highways, even around this area, you'll see outcroppings. You'll see that kind of a ledge of limestone sticking out. What makes it so special and so unique is because it's a very uniform thickness. So, and it was very close to the surface or exposed. So all people had to do was basically dig out the overburden, which is the dirt over the top, and they would drill holes about every 8 inches or so. If you wanted to do, generally posts and buildings were about the same size stones, more or less, just short. Building stones are shorter. Drill a hole about every 8 inches, and then they would insert what's called a feather and wedge. And it was just like a chisel. It was driven between two half round feathers, and they would drive those in, equalize the pressure along the whole point where they drilled the holes, and then when they hit it, it split. That was generally the method of quarrying the stones. And as I've said, since they were uniform thickness, that's one thing they didn't have to worry about is, they could cut the length and the width and they were done. And then what they call dressing it, cleaning it up.
Yeah, and here you are with those things are not light.
Typical stone posts can be about 300 to 400 pounds. Building stones usually maybe are a fourth that big. But one of the ways they would haul those posts is, that's a lot of weight. They would they would drop it in the quarry on the ground, drive a wagon over the top and hoist it using ropes or something underneath a wagon, maybe take two or three of them at a time, drive out to the site. And if they were putting up a fence, then they would have a hole pre-dug. They would drive over the top of the hole, drop the post right next to it, pull the wagon out of the way, and stand the post up in a hole. And you can imagine doing this for a half-mile long length of fence. So it was a
Well, I'm
job.
glad we're doing this for a podcast and not demonstrating this out in the
Definitely.
field because it may take, well, you look stronger than I do, but it may take you and I to go out and be able to push one of those posts in the hole and get that done. Pretty amazing.
As I was working on the book, I did a lot of looking around, and especially some of the old limestone churches, and it just totally amazes me. I cannot even begin to comprehend the amount of effort and dedication these people had to, first of all, quarry those, bring them onto the site, and then hoist them up using horses and, just ropes basically to hoist them up that incredible heights. And I cannot even comprehend the amount of work they went through.
So your book, it's available, I believe, on Amazon, correct? What should they look for when you go just go
It's
on
called it's,
Amazon, look for, or are there other places they can find the book? Maybe at the
it's called
museum?
Post Rock Country. It's available in a lot of different bookstores. They can get it off of Amazon, I believe. They can get it. I know there's a bookstore in Russell that has it available for sale. We have them in some places in La Crosse. We have them here at Sternberg also. Guess I better make sure and give us a quick plug.
Mm-hmm.
But you can pick it up. It's out and available.
Well, it sounds interesting, and somebody that has an interested in that history, obviously that limestone, the limestone that we have around here, it was the only thing to build, and so the creativeness of our ancestors in general, I won't say necessarily my ancestors, but in general, the people that settled this land
Mhm.
had that to use, and they made magnificent work of that, and you see that. So thanks for putting that into book form so somebody has some history along with doing that. And again,
Absolutely.
if you're interested in that, find that book. Back to when you take a look at things, what are you doing out at the museum when it's been back there? Are you still, I know a lot of volunteers jump in to be able to help at the museum. So is that still, do you still need volunteers?
We always welcome volunteers. We can use people to help with tours. We do have volunteers that work in the store for a few hours, whatever they want to do, working the front desk. There's plenty of opportunities, and some of them help with the educational programs. If you're interested in any of those things, come talk to us. We can set you up a variety of ways. You want to work an hour or two a week, or you want to work every day, we'll work out something for you.
And what a fun place to work. Do you have an email that people could just email you a link if they say, hey, working at a museum would just be fun and I'd like to volunteer some time to do that? How do they get a hold of you?
If they get on the website, it's probably the easiest. There's different emails if they want to look at the staff members and kind of directly contact one of the particular staff members in the department or division that they're interested in. If they're wanting to work kind of in education or something, we have Alicia Gady is our naturalist, and she does a lot of the programming along with Ian Trevethan as our educator. So they can do that or contact me to work at the front desk or the store. I could rattle off a bunch of email addresses or send you to the website, and they're right there for you. The easiest way to get them.
Does anybody ever volunteer to paint the dome?
I don't think, no, we've had that done, but
that looks like a real fun project, being on the side of that dome up there trying to because it looks so cool. But you guys keep the whole facility looking great, and when people walk in, and I know they're happy to be there, and you make it a fun time for them. So
I have to plug our custodial staff. I mean, they do a marvelous job of keeping this place looking like it did the day it opened. They are a wonderful staff. And I'll plug our exhibits manager, Greg Walters. Again, a lot of what you see upstairs is his vision and his work. He knows, we have great staff. We have fantastic people. I always kind of think we get the best of the best.
Brad, thanks for joining us today. Thanks
Absolutely.
for taking the time to talk about the museum. It's an amazing part of what we have here in our community in Hays and frankly in Kansas. So don't just drive by, drop in, say hi to not only Brad, but the whole team out there and take a quick tour of the museum. It may bring you back for 2 or 3 more visits as well. Brad, again, thanks for being here and thanks for taking time out of your day.
Thank you.
Brad Pink is the manager of visitor services at Sternberg Museum. They've just celebrated 25 years, 1999 till now at that museum. Time sure flies. It doesn't seem like it's been that long. It's a great facility. Go visit. Thanks for listening to Forward Ever, Leading in Challenging Times. It's brought to you by Worth Wealth Management. I'm Gary Shorman. Thanks for listening.
Thanks for joining us for Forward Ever, Leading in Challenging Times, presented by Worth Wealth Management. Join us right here next week for another episode with host Gary Shorman. Until then, remember to move forward ever, backward never.